Have you ever seen a tech announcement that just stops you in your tracks? Not just like the usual faster processor or slightly better camera, but something that genuinely makes you rethink things, makes you go, wow, okay, that's different. It's pretty rare, that feeling. Well, I think Google DeepMind might have just pulled one off on August 5th, 2025.
Oh, absolutely. You're talking about Google Genie 3.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, this wasn't just an incremental update. It feels bigger. Definitely more than just another game engine, as some might initially think.
Exactly. So that's what we want to dig into today. Why is Genie 3 causing such a stir? What even is a world model AI? We need to unpack how this thing apparently conjures up entire interactive worlds from a text prompt, worlds you can, walk around in, mess with, change on the fly. And what does that mean? For gaming, sure, but also for robotics, for AI itself.
Right. And the goal here really is to give you a clear picture of what this tech actually does. It feels a bit sci-fi, honestly, but it's real now, and understanding it helps grasp where AI is heading, kind of a shortcut to getting up to speed.
Okay, picture this, because the demos were wild. You type something like, navigate a volcanic wasteland in first person, and boom, you're there, driving this little robot past bubbling lava. The smoke looks right. It feels real. Or you're already in a simulation, say, walking through a forest, and you just type, make it start snowing.
Yeah, or summon a pack of wolves.
Right, and the world just reacts instantly. The snow starts falling, maybe wolves appear over the ridge, and crucially, it stays consistent. Objects don't just pop in and out. The physics make sense. So is this just a really, really cool tech demo, or is it signaling something more fundamental has shifted in simulation tech?
I'd argue it's definitely a fundamental shift. To really get why, you have to understand this idea of a world model AI. Think about most AI today. You've got large language models, right? Like ChatGPT. They're amazing at language structure. They can tell a story. But maybe they forget a detail from paragraph 1 by the time they get to paragraph 5. There's no persistent memory of the scene, really. Or image generators, like Midjourney. They create these incredible snapshots, frozen moments in time, but they don't simulate cause and effect over time.
That's a really important distinction, yeah. The LLM just writes the next word. It doesn't remember the vase on the table unless you keep reminding it. So how does a world model like Genie 3 get around that? What's its trick for keeping everything, well, together in a dynamic world?
It really boils down to what psychologists call object permanence, but applied to AI. Plus, just a deeper sort of innate understanding of how things work. World models aren't just spitting out pixels based on the last frame. They're generating a world with rules. And they enforce those rules. If you put a box down, walk away, and come back, the box is still there. That sounds simple, but that consistency, that's the absolute bedrock for any AI that needs to learn or act in a space that resembles reality.
Like a self-driving car needing to know parked cars stay parked.
Exactly. Or a robot learning to navigate a warehouse. It needs the world to behave predictably.
And Google's been working on this kind of thing for a bit, right? I remember Genie 1 and 2. They were interesting, but limited. And DeepMind also had VO, which was more about super realistic video generation. How did Genie 3 manage to, leapfrog those?
That's the key point. The leap from Genie 2 to 3 is massive. It's qualitative. Genie 2, yeah, it had some interaction, but only for maybe 10, 20 seconds max.
Yeah.
Very short snippets. VO could generate stunning video, even up to 4K, but zero interaction. It's just a movie generator. Genie 3 hits this sweet spot. Okay, it's 720p for now, but you get minutes of interaction time. It's real time, low latency, and crucially, it's domain general. It can seemingly create almost anything you asked for.
Okay, and the part that really blew my mind was what they call promptable world events. Like that example. Hiking in a simulated forest and you just type, make it snow, boof, snow, or summon wolves, and the world just adapts instantly. The physics change. It doesn't just reset the scene. How does it do that so fast?
That real-time generation changes everything. Genie 3's architecture is what's called autoregressive. Think of it like a really good improvisational actor. They're constantly building on the last line, remembering the characters in the situation, but also instantly weaving in new suggestions from the audience. It looks at what just happened, remembers the important stuff, decides the very next frame based on that in your new text prompt, all simultaneously in real time.
Ah, okay. That explains why those demos felt so present, like the one on the coastal road during a hurricane. The waves kept crashing realistically. The trees were bending the right way. Even the characters' raincoats seemed to react to the wind properly. It wasn't just repainting a picture. It felt like a live simulation you could nudge. So what does that mean for something like robotics?
Oh, for robotics, and frankly, for AGI research. This is potentially huge.
Yeah.
Suddenly, you can train AI agents in environments that behave, much more like the real world, but without the massive cost or the danger or just the sheer logistical hassle of doing everything with physical robots. Want to teach a robot to handle stairs, or avoid puddles, or walk on bumpy ground. You can just spin up countless variations in Genie 3 and let the AI learn through trial and error millions of times at a scale that was just impossible before.
It's like an infinite sandbox for creators and an infinite lab for researchers. And those promptable events you mentioned, they're not just cool effects, right? They enable testing for weird situations, counterfactuals.
Yep.
Like you're driving a simulated car and you prompt sudden flash flood. And the simulation has to react realistically. Sky darkens, water rises, maybe debris appears.
Exactly. Or a dragon suddenly lands in your nice medieval market simulation. These what-ifs are incredibly valuable for stress testing AI. How does a warehouse robot react if a shelf unexpectedly collapses? How does a self-driving car handle a sudden, bizarre obstacle, like a deer wearing a hat?
Okay, maybe not the hat. But yeah, you can throw curveballs you could never reliably stage in the real world.
Precisely. And this brings us to another really critical point: consistency. Anyone who's played games with procedural generation knows that frustration, right? You look away from a tree, look back, and suddenly it's a different size or even a different species. It breaks the immersion.
Totally. Breaks the reality of it.
Genie 3 seems to handle this much better through what they call emergent consistency. It apparently maintains a pretty solid visual memory for up to about a minute, which is actually quite a long time in simulation terms. So a door you opened, it should stay open. A car you parked, it stays put.
And that's not just nice to look at, is it? That's fundamental for making the simulation feel like a place.
It's why you hear that phrase buzzing around robotic circles. Simulation is cheap. The real world is expensive. DeepMind showed an example where they put their Sima agent, that's their generalist AI agent, into a Genie 3 warehouse simulation. And it worked. It could navigate and reach goals because the world stayed coherent. Gravity worked. Objects collided properly. Yeah, the practical benefits are pretty clear. Think about tasks like teaching a legged robot the nuances of climbing stairs gate tuning, or optimizing routes for warehouse robots, or testing how drones handle sudden wind gusts. Things that might have taken weeks of complex setup and physical trials before could potentially be iterated on in hours using something like Genie 3. The speed up is immense.
Saves tons of time, tons of money, allows for way more experimentation, faster progress, better robots. Okay. So let's zoom out a bit. What are the really big, maybe even profound implications here? First one seems obvious. The future of play, of games. Creating believable, interactive worlds has always been this incredibly complex, expensive process, right? Like scaling Everest. Is Genie 3 basically giving creators a helicopter ride to the summit?
That's a really good way to put it, actually. Yeah. It fundamentally lowers the barrier to creating interactive worlds. It shifts things away from needing huge teams spending years handcrafting every single asset and interaction towards something closer to, well, near instantaneous generation based on description. For game studios, this looks like the first truly credible AI-powered game engine. Imagine. Prompt a detailed medieval town. Okay, now set some guard patrols. Now make the market busier. Hit play. Oh, wait, let's have an eclipse happen? Type it in. How about a dragon attack at dusk? Prompt it. Designers could spend less time wrestling with technical pipelines and more time actually directing the experience, orchestrating the story.
And players could become, like, co-authors in real time. Modding could mean just chatting with the game world. That feels like a fundamental split from how engines like Unreal or Unity work, which are all about meticulous, handcrafted control for ultimate polish. Genie 3 sounds more about emergent possibility, trading maybe some of that fine-tuned polish for infinite dynamism. Is that the trade-off?
I think that's exactly the dynamic we're going to see emerge. It's almost like comparing, I don't know, traditional film photography versus capturing something instantly on your phone. One is very deliberate, planned, design-driven. The other is immediate, experimental, maybe a bit rougher, but incredibly flexible. It opens up totally new ways to think about making and playing games.
Okay, implication 2. The training ground for real-world machines. You mentioned this, but let's dive deeper. We've seen simulation demos for AGI before, but they often struggled with realism, right? Robots trained in simpler simulations often failed in the messy real world. Does Genie 3's better coherence and real-time nature move the needle significantly here? How might, say, Boston Dynamics actually use this?
Well, imagine an Atlas robot from Boston Dynamics. Instead of just physical trials, it could spend all night running through complex warehouse tasks inside Genie 3, picking boxes, navigating obstacles, reacting to simulated spells. It's essentially building up muscle memory and refining its algorithms before it even sets foot in the real warehouse. Cuts down on expensive trial and error. Or self-driving cars. You could train their AI on countless variations of rare but dangerous events, those black swan moments, sudden snow squalls, deer jumping out at awkward angles.
Yeah.
Just toggle them with prompts.
And then engineers could literally point to simulation logs showing the AI handled thousands of those scenarios successfully. It becomes part of the safety case. Okay, third big implication, potentially a piece of the puzzle for artificial general intelligence. You hinted at this. Humans do this naturally, right? We mentally simulate outcomes. If I bump this table, I can kind of picture the coffee mug sliding. Does AI need that mental simulator too?
Many researchers believe it absolutely does. That ability to imagine, to play out what-if scenarios internally, seems crucial for general intelligence. Genie 3 could provide the scaffolding for that. You take the reasoning power of a large language model, fuse it with the perception abilities of a vision model, and then you ground it all in a persistent, interactive world model like Genie 3. Now you have an AI stack that can potentially think, see, and imagine within a consistent environment. That's why some insiders are saying Genie 3 isn't just a product, it's almost like a dress rehearsal for the next stage of AGI development.
Wow, okay. But like any new tech, it's not perfect, right? What are the limitations right now?
Oh, for sure. It still has what researchers call an action space ceiling. Agents can walk, look around, bump into things, but really fine-grained stuff like delicate hand movements, manipulating small objects precisely, that's apparently still missing. Coordinating lots of different agents interacting realistically can also be tricky, they say, and the simulations currently only run for a few minutes consistently. For some industrial training, you might need hours of stable simulation.
Right, like a long warehouse shift?
Exactly. And the geographic fidelity isn't quite 1.1 yet. You can ask for downtown Tokyo, but it won't be a perfect replica, more like a plausible representation. And text within the simulation, like signs, can be blurry unless you specifically feed it in. But DeepMind folks are already dropping hints about Genie 4, supposedly targeting 2026.
Oh, really? What are they teasing for the next version?
They're talking about some pretty big leaps. Multi-hour consistency, imagine long-form RPG quests generated on the fly. 4K real-time output, so visually much closer to high-end games or movies. And get this, procedural NPC minds. Basically embedding language models inside the simulated characters so they can actually converse and behave more intelligently within the world.
Oh.
Plus, things like better hooks for tactile feedback, so maybe VR gloves could let you feel the heat from that simulated lava or the texture of objects.
That sounds incredibly ambitious. But then again, look how fast text-to-image went from blurry blobs to photorealism. Maybe world models are on a similar exponential curve.
It certainly feels that way. What makes Google Genie 3 feel different, I think, is that it's not just about the output image or video. The world itself becomes the prompt. It's weaving together memory, physics, interactions, story, all onto this single canvas that listens and reacts in real time.
So, summing it up for everyone listening, for gamers, this looks like a playground that literally evolves as you interact with it, maybe making players into true co-creators. For roboticists, it's like suddenly having access to thousands of virtual test labs running 24/7, training robots like Atlas for complex tasks, or making self-driving cars safer by testing them against endless rare scenarios.
And for AI researchers, it could be a really crucial piece of the puzzle for AGI, that imagination layer we talked about, a mental simulator built by combining language, vision, and a persistent world model.
It reminds me, years ago, DeepMind had AlphaGo make that legendary move 37 in Go, a move no human expected, showing creative strategy. Google Genie 3 feels kind of like the spatial interactive version of that. It's not just one brilliant move on a static board, it's the entire board coming alive, ready for anything. The gap between just having an idea and experiencing it as an interactive reality, well, it's never seemed shorter. And this engine, Genie 3, seems to be the thing shrinking that gap. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? What world will you prompt into existence next?